Travis Scott just dropped Jackboys 2, and it's filled with features, crazy hits and that iconic trippy sound. But how do they actually make beats that feel so ethereal, yet hit so hard live? Today we are breaking down the album and learn how to craft those dark, hypnotic intros and those hard, bouncy beats that will shake the whole crowd. So sit back and be ready to enter the Travis hypnotic world. For the BPM, let's go at 142. In the album they go from 140 to 160, but there isn't a magic number. We're gonna start with the intro, but to create those dark, ethereal intros, let's listen to Champagne and Vacay. The first thing we can learn there is to use the right sounds. As you can hear, they are really soft and perfect to create those vibes. So let's open Analog Lab, and I already know a preset called the Ambi Horns that is exactly that. Soft and dark at the same time, so let's use it. The second important thing is the progression they used. In fact, they used the classic Travis Scott one. We are not going to use the minor natural scale, but instead the Phrygian. As you can see, this is the minor natural scale. They are almost the same, but this note is down one semitone. And the Phrygian is perfect to create a dark and trippy sound. So let's create a chord, skipping one note of the scale and another one. And we have a minor chord. Now we can do the same thing, but with the next note. Yeah, that's why, as soon as I hear these two chords, I think of Travis Scott. That's crazy. And it works really well, as you can hear, to create that trippy sound. But of course, we could create variation, for example, go down here. But I prefer the simple version of this. Let's copy this, up one octave. So now it's fuller. And maybe copy these bass notes down one octave. And this will be crazy during lives. Let's add some effects on it. Make it wider. Add some reverb. And we can also EQ this. I don't really like those frequencies. If we lower them... Oh, it's so much softer. Because as we said, we want a soft sound. And that's the foundation of our beat. Now let's listen to the song again. As you can hear, we have also a piano in the background that is following the chord, but the sound is still really soft. So let's create a counter melody with this close gram piano and then change the sound. So they went up, they did something like that. Instead we can go down. And as you can see, I'm always using the same notes of the chords. Let's try to add a different note. Oh! That's crazy. And instead of using a piano or filter this a lot to make it sound softer, I'm going to use a key from Riffle. Oh, I like this one. Okay, on this I'm going to add some delay, because I want to reverse it, and the delay reversed sounds really good. Let's render this, and I'm reversing it because right now we have this attack, and we could remove it, but by reversing it, we are not gonna feel the attack no more. And of course we gotta use the same progression, so we gotta flip this. Yeah, that's really good. Maybe that's still too much, so let's try to pitch it down one octave. And boost a bit these higher frequencies. Oh, that's a fire texture! Another element that we have a lot in this type of beats is the breeze bass. To use it right, we can do something like that with the envelope, so that when we stop the note, it stops playing. And honestly, we could just follow this, but it would be a bit boring. The thing I suggest you to do is to play around with a MIDI keyboard and try to create variation at the end before changing note. Yeah, of course, when I record, I don't play it on time. We can fix this and click Alt for legato. So now we have something like this. Let's copy this. And at the end, to create variation, we can use a slide note. Yeah, that's fire. As you can hear, the more we progress with the song, the more energy we have. And one key thing they did to have that effect is to add another pad that is not as soft, but they use something like a saw wave. If you don't know how it sounds, it's like that. Yeah, this one has some effects, but this is brighter and it's going to add more energy when we use it. I remember a preset that will go crazy on this. It has more energy. Another thing that we could add to have more variation is to add a little top melody. Ooh, that's crazy! The main melody of the intro I think is almost finished. In fact, we could add some other stuff like synth accents to make it sound even better. It really depends on the length of the intro. I think we're going to have 16 bars. We can start chill, like that. Then let the counter melody come in. We have a lot more energy. But for now, let's go in my Imperial multi-kit and find an accent. Yeah, before we build up the energy, we have this accent. I already feel the ethereal, trippy vibe, so it means we are done with the melody. And I wanted to say that pretty much all the album is made to be played at a concert, at a live. I did go to a Travis Scott concert here in Milan, and let me tell you, these crazy intros and outros were absolutely crazy, and the energy was really high. And then when the beat dropped, it was 10 times harder. That's why we need to think about this like a build-up. And before the drop, we need to add something that will tell people that something is going to happen. Travis Scott had a guy shouting. But we can add something like a violin to obtain that effect. Just one way of anticipating the drop. Then, for example, you can create volume automations, or an automation on a filter, for example, would sound really good on that. But now it's time to add some drums in the Travis Scott style. And let's take a listen to 2000 Excursion for that. We have those distorted and heavy drums. I found these 3 sounds on Splice. I think they're going to work well. And I didn't search for a normal kick, but for a stomp kick. It has more high end, and again, at a live this will be heard more. Yeah, these drums go hard. I think they played around with more sounds and stuff, but I don't think it's needed. We can just use this and add some effects. First of all, as I said, we need to add some distortion. Going to add a sub clipper too. And some reverb. Pay attention to use the low cut, so that the kick sounds better. Okay, the intro is done, it sounds fire, and now we can move on and make a hard switch up. And the main element that drives the energy is the bass.
Yeah. Jackboys too.
I love my bitch.
The bass is not playing always the same note, but it's using a progression, and this helps to add a lot of energy. To find a nice pattern, I suggest again to play with your MIDI keyboard if you have one, or to click here and use your PC keyboard as a MIDI one. Maybe we can go... yeah, something like that. We could do 2 things. We could copy this, or we can keep going with G. That's crazy, yeah! Now we can add a main melody, and for this let's listen to the drop in 2000 Excursion.
I whip in the truck.
On tracks, not giving a fuck. On wax, not giving a fuck.
Here we have a really repetitive piano melody. I think they took a part of a sample and really repeated it over and over. So let's try to do that too. Let's try this one. Okay, something like this repetitive and then copy. That's fine. It's not a top melody so that we can find a spot to loop that will sound good. Yeah, let's render this. Now it's pitched up a lot, but it's because then I'm going to pitch it down, because the piano pitch down sounds different. Maybe stretch it tool. Let's boost a bit these higher frequencies. Sad Fox Echo Chorus. But now let's take a second listen.
I love my bitch.
As you can hear, the main melody doesn't have a character, but it's basically just a background. So now we already added the piano melody, but let's try to build that ambience. And since we were using these ambi horns, let's try to use them again, also to keep the beat more coherent. The less notes we use, the better it is, because it's just a background. That's a really fire foundation for a beat, and the Travis Scott energy, I mean, it's there. But we can add some counter melodies on this to make it more interesting and have some variation. We can't loop this for all the beat. And let's take Dumbo for example.
Let's go. Still talk up and they try you. Pick up the number.
This scene that goes down is crazy and just helps to create that trippy vibe. Let's try to recreate something like that too. I'm going to open Riffle because I have a similar lead. Yeah man, it's basically the same. And add the glide. That's crazy, just like that. That's a fire counter melody, not gonna lie. But we are still missing something. And to fix that, let's listen to Kick Out. I don't know if you could hear it. The sample is really bouncy. We have a vocal that specifically plays to create bounce. And with the drums, this sounds insane. I think I want to try the vocal thing too and use a soprano for that. By the way, if you want to check out Riffle, the link is in the description. To find a bouncy melody, let's do one thing. Let's lay down the clap. With a random sound for now. And let's see where we could place this. But of course this needs to stay in the background. People are still going to feel the bounce. Okay, that's already enough, we don't want to overcomplicate it. In fact, we already have variation for a whole beat. But now it's time to finally add some drums. In the majority of these tracks, the main snare plays a huge role. In fact, it has a lot of bounce. Let's recreate that. And here there are no rules to find the right bounce, because one thing of these beats is that they are really unique. We could use these two spots. They are really overused. Let's see if we can do something different. Ooh, yeah, that's bouncy. And we can add a second snare to create even more bounce. But now let's listen for the hi-hats.
Spin the truck. On tracks, not giving a fuck. On wax, not giving a fuck.
Here the hi-hats are really simple. I think they are 2 steps. But let's make it more interesting. Let's use Village 4 and duplicate them and lower the velocity. And also randomize them, why not? Also the pitch a bit, at 1%. In some beats they did go further and add a lot of rolls. I don't think we need to for our beat. Let's add only 1 note. Yeah, I only one at the end like that. And listening again to the same song, we have a lot of perk.
In the truck, on tracks, not giving a fuck. On wax, not giving a fuck.
So let's try to add them too, because they create a lot of bounce. Okay. Ooh, that's bouncy. And now it's time to add the 808, and as you can hear in a lot of songs, they go pretty crazy with it. But in our beat, we also have a wrist bass. If right now I add the spins 808, the low frequency of the 808 is going to clash with the one with the bass, and we don't want that, so I'm going to add an EQ, removing this really low end. And let's create an automation clip, because of course we do need that low end in the intro. And you know what, let's take this to another level. Let's add some distortion on the bass. See if we can find something better. That's crazy.